Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. What can a good camp director do when they are feeling overwhelmed, tired, exhausted, and still need to get things done?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
This episode of the CampHacker podcast is brought to you by UltraCamp. Wouldn't it be refreshing if your registration software gave you more time? With UltraCamp, you can track attendance, manage staff applications, streamline registration, and much more. Get back the time you need to focus on what's really important, camp. Find out more at summercampsoftware.com/camphacker.
Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast. My name is Travis Allison. I'm a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant, and I help camp translate what they do so more families insist on sending their children to summer camp.
And my name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors of Camp Waro. Camp Waro is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains, and we focus on creating a positive environment for gender minorities.
And my name's Joe Richards. I'm the executive director at Pierce Williams Summer Camp and Retreat Facility in Iona, Ontario, part of the United Church of Canada's network of 55 camps across the country.
Wonderful. Well, Chris is unable to join us today, so we will miss him as we missed Joe the last recording. We are going to spend some time today on kind of moment-to-moment managing your camp day. Whether it's the off-season or the on-season, there is a lot to manage, and there's always getting, it seems, a lot more to manage. And we wanted to spend some time and really think about what it means to really find the ways and the strategies that have worked for the three of us to focus. And I think it's important to say, Chris would have been a good balance for this. The three of us are pretty unfocused people
Yes.
in general. I think Joe is a little higher on the focus scale, but than the other two of us. But maybe we'll just lean on Joe for good ideas.
Or I just make it look like that. So
I think that's true.
fake it until you make it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we're thinking about today how we can talk about, how we could be more motivated when we need to, definitely more efficient or more productive. And then how do we relax when it's all over? And thinking about motivation to start with, where does your mind go when I say that term, Gab?
I think motivation for me, I have a very high amount of motivation for anything that's new, exciting, anything that piques my interest. I am super into, and I have an endless amount of motivation. In some ways, it can get me into trouble where I could spend until 11 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning working on something. I think that where I get tripped up is it's where I lack motivation. It's when I look at the big picture and I see all of the things that need to get done. And it looks like I don't know where to start. Do I put the majority of my energy into staff hiring and training, or should I be building a better connection and communication with my families? Should I be evaluating the summer and looking, it's just all of the things. And that's where motivation starts to trickle down, and I can get almost just frozen in my path and not know, where to go. And then that's where I end up just stopping and could literally sit there for hours, not knowing where to start.
I think that's the effect of the overwhelm for me too. I have had people try to teach me, or I've asked people to teach me how they organize things, how they plan things. And if you listen to Camp Code, you will have heard Beth say a zillion times, to start from the end, work back and plan out all the steps. As soon as you start adding in all of those steps on paper to me, I just get panicky. And so I have to figure out my own in the moment way of trying to create, focus on the right things, which is the motivation piece. I am motivated to do all the stuff we do because I want camps to have a better time. I want it to be easier to be a camp director. When I was a camp director, even though the amount of stuff that camp directors do is 10x what I had to do when I was a camp director. So just, again, go back to the motivation. What's it for you, Joe? What do you think about when you're feeling overwhelmed and not sure how to put one foot in front of the other?
What I think about is not getting fired. I think this is what drives most people. And if we're going to be brutally honest, it's this idea that you don't want to let a big ball drop. And I think that that's the motivation for me, is to make camp the most magical place and the best possible experience for the kids and the staff who come, and also looking for what's next in camping. Because how does camp remain relevant? How do we move forward? What's camp look like in 5 years, 10 years? Those are all things that motivate me. But when I'm feeling truly on the edge, maybe a bit overwhelmed, I'm like, man, I just hope I don't miss something that could get me fired. And I say that as someone who's been here for 17 years in the same position with a board of directors who has shown no sign ever of being like, you know what we need to do to make Pierce Williams better? We need to get rid of that guy. But I think that when I was a camp staff, I remember, when a camp director gives you that talk, the whole camp staff, that talk.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And the camp director lights into the staff about something someone has done, but they're making sure we all know. I was the staff member who always thought it was me. And it had nothing to do with me, right? Like it was somebody else had dropped some ball. And, but I still think that is a great way to motivate yourself through life, right? To always think that you need to do better. And really my motivation is to find the future. And during this pandemic has just been to keep it alive, right? Keep Pierce Williams going. Yeah. And as you lose staff through either them leaving or them dying, right? You're just like, okay, great. Let's refocus what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. Let's get through today. And yeah, that's my motivation, not getting fired.
Well, I want to also highlight though, what you said though. I mean, the pandemic, a lot of what the last 2 years have felt like is that it's impossible to get ahead, that it is only treading. Like there's just so much overwhelm. There's so much going on in work, outside of work, people just putting everything on the line to save their camps and keep them going. And it's those days, I think, that have been such incredible challenges for everybody that I am asking the two of you to consider. What are those days and what do you do on those days?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like keeping the boat afloat when there seems like there's so many like holes everywhere. So like, where can you put your attention? And for me, I think there's perspective is so important. And whether if you're at part of an organization for a long period of time, then there is an element of you can go back 3, 4, 5, 7 years and pull out things that are maybe that you're just better off than where you were then. Mm-hmm. And I would, we're rebuilding our team right now, and we're talking about, we had such a smaller team last year. And so the percentage of staff members that are reapplying is the same percentage that we typically have had in past years, but just from such a smaller pot. And so I'm speaking with the team right now and, how do we rebuild? And one of our full-time staff members, Alexandre, did this brilliant job of showing at different times of Waro history when we had a huge changeover time where it was, a lot of new staff members that came on. And one of the staff members said, when we were doing this presentation, she said, we've done this before and we're still okay. We're going to be okay. So we're in the same position as we were in 2012. And Alexandre's response was so brilliant. She said, we're not in the same position as we were in 2012 because now we've worked on, and she's like, I know this is boring, but our HR stuff is better. And our this program is better and our staff training is better. So we have more tools than then. So I think one perspective is really, really helpful. We're building upon something that, that we're better off than previous years, hopefully. If you're new to an organization, for me, it's looking at like, what do you have right now that you don't have to get done, and just sort of grounding yourself in those things. Like, at least this is taken care of, at least we have space for cars to park, on opening day. Great. Right. And sort of, those are things that have been taken care of. Perspective for me helps so much to fuel that fire. Then I'm telling myself, it's not everything. It's just, I'm passionate about making everything amazing. So what do I need to connect with that? Amazing is important, but what are things that I need to do that's going to help with just the functionality and making everybody's lives easier? Yeah. And that's how I look at my job. My job is to make parents' lives easier, staff members' lives easier, campers' lives easier. So where can I start there?
And I was been taking a course this last week, an anti-racism course for some work I do through the MBA. And one of the things that came up out of that is, can we practice good enough? Can we accept good enough that perfectionism is a symptom of white supremacy culture, and that we are constantly pushing ourselves to be perfect and judging others who are not perfect? I was like, that's a fascinating idea. Definitely a different perspective. And one interesting thing that came out of the pandemic and changes and dealing with all this stuff, and this is a world perspective too, is that there are a lot of camps who've been through big shit. There's camps that have lost most of their college age staff because they went and fought in a war. There have been camps who lived through polio and the polio virus running through the country. There are camps that have lived through the 1919 flu. Maybe the records and the strategies aren't there, but at least there's something to fall back on. It's like, people have done it. They have made it work. It's possible.
It is possible. And the thing is, this is new to us and new to many people, this pandemic, and not running camp for two seasons for some, for most United Church camps in Canada. But it's also about this idea that I think about what can you let go? Right. So when I feel overwhelmed, or when I feel like there's a list of things, I do something called a mind dump, which is an old David Allen getting things done thing. I do a mind dump, and because if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's often because you've trapped it up here. And if you just write it down, it makes everything be like, oh, well, okay, there's the list. Okay, that's a list. And then I've trained myself to look at the list and see, well, what can I let go? Right? Like, what do I not need to do? What at this point in this pandemic and this place in the history of Pierce Williams can I just not do? And I think that this is something that I think about coming into the new summer next year, because what we really need to do is focus on creating an amazing summer camp program and rebuilding that. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, does that involve doing vacation Bible camps like at churches? And I'm like, I don't think it does, because that only weakens what I need here. And if I have limited staff, right? Like, and I don't know. And so, but it's also things, it's just this idea of what can you let go? And that goes into numerous things. Do you know how to get less email? Stop replying to people's emails. Get you less email. Yes. And they can think that you're, that they can think whatever they want to think. That's their thoughts. But if you just don't reply to them because it doesn't improve your place or improve your camp, what can you let go? I think about it all the time.
Mm-hmm. And we're saying, of course, reply to parents because they're our customers. Maybe there's some parents you don't want their families to come back, so you don't reply. Perhaps it's a strategy, but it's I love that what can you let go? And I think that I also love the perspective that you're talking about, Travis, about perfectionism and white supremacy. And I'm like, oh, there's so many things that white supremacy, the worst. But I think that it's hard to let things go. And I was taking a free course on productivity. I was, and it said, from within minute 5, it was like, make sure you're not multitasking. And I'm watching this on a video and I'm cooking lunch. And I was like, well, that's not really multitasking, is it really? And I'm like breaking the rules right from out of the gate. But one of the suggestions they had was to brain dump and then to break down tasks, even smaller, like, so if you're like, I need to cut the grass, you don't put down, I cut the grass, you put down, fill up the lawnmower with fuel, then you can cut the grass, whatever. But this woman wrote in the chat, I don't have time to make a list. I don't have time. I just have to do things. Like, can you just tell me how to get stuff done? And I thought to myself, I'm dangerous. I sometimes get dangerously close to that. Like, she's clearly in survival, overwhelmed, chaos mode. I sometimes get dangerously close to that. Mode. Yeah, exactly. And I think that the like little routines in the day, and not mixing up routine with, tasks that need to get done periodically, like separating your routine, what you get done daily and weekly, from your other work is one of the ways that for me separates the tasks that I have to get done. Like there's certain things that every day I'll need to do. And if I do it every day, then it's not this 3, 4, 5 hour thing that I need to do at the end of the month or whatever. And so like having those routines and just trying to focus on that. And on tough days, when I'm feeling so overwhelmed, if I just get some of those routines done, then at least there's that feeling of success, which fuels again the motivation to keep moving forward.
And I think that idea of routine is really important for the relaxed part of this, right? You can feel overwhelmed, but when I was younger, I fought routine like nobody's business. I thought that every day had to be different. I thought that if I ate the same thing or if I went to bed at the same time, right? Like routine just wasn't what I wanted. But what I've realized now that I'm getting older is, oh, well, this is a great time to go to bed, get my 8 hours. I have a routine at bedtime. Great. And then in the morning, I have a routine that sort of lets me gently come into my day, which does involve watching an episode of, currently an episode of Quantum Leap, which I'm recording on my DVR, which is awesome. And they're playing them in order. And I'm like, this is amazing, right? You have tea, you do Quantum Leap. I play New York Times games, right? Like I have this routine that sort of gets me ready for the day. And there's nothing, I had this thought about routine and about how people relax. And I was thinking about this idea because when you read up online now, I somehow got onto a side of Twitter that is all about side hustles. And in my mind, I was like, should we not go back to a place in life where you didn't need a side hustle, where your job actually paid you enough to live?
Well, yeah.
Right. Like if your side hustle is that passionate, then why don't you turn that into, right? Like I get it. But this is the whole thing about routine. And the reason that I would never become someone who does woodworking as a side hustle is because I have no motivation to do. I love doing woodworking. I love creating wood art. Do I go out and promote that for sales? Nope. Do I have interest? Not enough to go and stand in a cold farmer's market in December to sell things at a Christmas market. I'm just like, I'm just playing. And I think that the idea of the relaxed side of things, and what you said, Gab, about right, that you just have things to do, and that lady said that she's too busy to make a list. You're never, if that's your life, then you're choosing that as your life. The reality is slowing down sometimes gives us a different perspective on where we're actually going. Yeah.
Well, she's clearly in chaos at that point. Like you're not in a good place.
That's a busy life as opposed to a planned life.
It's a reaction, I'm also laughing a little bit because I think if Chris was here, he would say, you're all mental cuckoo bird, like the fact, Joe, that you were saying, routine, everything had to be different every single day. Me too. That's how I'm just like, it has to be always new and shiny and fun and different. And if it's routine, then it's going to squish my creativity. And obviously it's well, for me personally, it's not, it's the other way around. You're able to do more. But I think for, there are people that are very organized and they have their stuff together. And it still can get overwhelming. And I think sometimes I don't get overwhelmed because I really, truly, sometimes I just don't know how much there is to get done. And that is a gift that I have in my head. I really am in the moment. So right now I'm talking with you two. I know I probably have a whole bunch of things to do, but I just don't know. And I think some people are able, like my mother, Jackie, she can keep everything in her head, Beth as well, of what needs to get done next. And that can stress you out. Whereas I do need to make the list. I do need to keep the routine so that I do get stuff done. But I'm also fairly, in some ways, okay, because in the moment, I'm just, I'm working on this. That's what I'm doing. I'm not thinking, I don't even think for, half an hour ahead. I'm just doing this.
Do
Again,
either of you do that? Do either of you have a thing to trick yourself into a flow state when you need to? Like, can we talk about that? What are the setups for you for flow? Like, this is focus and flow. I know that I can get way more done in a day if they don't all have to be done in order, that I can allow my brain to go the way my brain wants, and I can just do little pieces. This has been the thing in our house for years. Beth and I we'll have our, things that we like to do for cleaning the house. We don't do them at the same time because Beth can't watch me do them. Yes. Because I will, I'll vacuum a room and then I'll clean a toilet and then I will, I'll do all this. Like, she just can't. And so, we've learned I'm happiest if I can I'll constantly be moving forward, but I don't have to do it all in order. Mm-hmm. But I also know that I have things that I have to focus. Stuff that are parts of jobs that I don't enjoy, like Alt-MBA coaching. I have to often in those 5 weeks of those programs that I'm coaching, I have to spend time and write smart, thoughtful comments on people's projects times 10, 3 days a week. And that is brutal hard for me. Yeah. But I know what I have to do. I know that my desk has to be in the standing position. I know that I have to have one or two different kinds of music on pretty loud. And, and those kind of things to set me up when I have to do that thing I don't want to. My happiest, I get in a flow state if I'm just like, I don't mind tidying the house if I've got a book to listen to, or I've got some good music on and or a podcast, and go from there. So what's it for you, Joe? What's the thing that you do? It doesn't have to feel like a trick, but what are the things that you found that give you a state of flow?
Time crunch. So procrastination.
Yeah, totally me. Yep.
And this idea. So I have talked a lot about this with our executive producer, Matt, when he worked for us here at Pierce Williams, because he loves flow state. He loves the book, the concept. I am not sure I've ever been in a flow state, right? I'm not sure my wife does it all the time. She will skip meals. She can go like 8 hours and just not think about anything but what she's doing, if it's reading report cards or doing something. For me personally, it's the time crunch and procrastination gets me to the spot where, and this little voice that I have trained myself to be like, it will get done, right? Like the time. So there's a grant due tomorrow and I'll probably ask for over $100,000. And I haven't even I haven't logged into the system to start the grant. And am I worried? Nope. It will get done. Do I have quotes for it? That's the important part. The answer is yes. So that makes it a lot easier, because what I've realized, so procrastination is just funny. And sometimes what people think is procrastination is just thinking about the problem, and coming up with solutions. And when I do want to focus on something and get work done, I also have music that is not playing ultra loud. I stream DJ sets on SoundCloud that are just noise in the background. And I tend to use 25-minute blocks to focus. And I have a little, and I think I've used it as a tool before, but I have a little time timer on my desk that I can set to 25 minutes and then go through. So I've tried numerous things, but my flow state is either it's not something I do, or I like you, Travis, I will go do different things and I'll catch myself. But like Gab, there's a ton of projects that are just left undone, right? Like, are not undone, partially done. And then and in my wood shop, it's the same thing. I actually created a board so I could put up index cards to be like, this is what I'm working on. Yeah. And then if the 6 spots get filled, I'm not allowed to start a 7th project.
No 7 projects. That's the
brilliant.
Joe rule.
Yeah. Well, not that I follow it. Right. But I like to think that's the Joe rule.
This episode should be called, how to get stuff done as an ADHD camp professional. This is not.
Well, and I don't know. I've never thought of myself as ADHD. I've thought of myself as lazy. Right. But then there are people who look at me in this world of camping and are like, man, you do a ton of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I watch a ton of TV. But do you get more done because it's just sort of what you love to do?
Well, I often wonder, Joe, if you get more done because you're better at taking breaks.
Yeah.
Or how many other camp directors do we know that say, I go home at 6:00 at night?
Yeah.
In the summer.
Yeah.
And I can relax with my family. And I think
100%.
that ability to relax helps you focus on some things.
And I started a new hire yesterday, and that's what I'm trying to teach, because I didn't hire a camp director. I hired a director of camps and programs and marketing. And I don't see that position as being here until midnight or working till 1 a.m. during the summer, because that's not, longevity is impossible in that state. Or it is possible, but you're giving away energy to do other things.
Yeah. And you're also when you think you have endless time too, if you don't have that cap, I'm done at 6 p.m., then it doesn't force you to get the stuff done adequately by that time. Like, that perfectionism can come into play. So I'm going to just continue working into 8, 9, 10, whatever, or, so putting those time caps on yourself and keeping yourself accountable to give yourself those brain breaks and those life breaks that we all need. Also, I think it does help us remain more efficient. So many of my friends that have had children, in the past, 5 or 10 years, have said, they're much more efficient with their time when they're sitting down at their computer. They don't have time to scroll through stuff and research as much things or just watch some fun YouTube videos, because they need to get it done before child wakes up by this time or whatever, so that limited time, but also setting and also having that break just makes you rejuvenated and ready to go and tackle whatever problems you need to tackle that day.
Well, and it's going to be there tomorrow, right? Like,
exactly.
Like, there's rarely things that when things have to get done, they get done. But the majority of things sitting on my desk aren't time sensitive in the sense of they need to happen in the next hour. And I've trained my email program to only send me emails 3 times a day. So I'm not reacting to things. I actually have a time where I go and look at my email. I'm like, great. And then some emails get lost. But
it would be way harder for most people to train themselves to do that than it would be to train their email program to do that. But which brings me an interesting point. And Gab, you brought this up, so credit to you. But yes, we are, 2 diagnosed and 1 suspected ADHD person on this call. But sometimes I think, do we need, based on population numbers, should this be the thing that we're sharing? But I was reading some research just this morning about how people's brains are changing because of the pandemic and the effects of that. And one of the effects of that is is the lack of concentration, the lack of ability to concentrate. So there will be more people listening to this who aren't people who are diagnosed with ADHD, who are finding that their brain is working in this way. So I hope that comes across. Some people will just listen to us talk about flying about from thing to thing, project to project, and just turn us off. I know, but if you're finding that you're doing that and it's not how you used to be, there's a reason for that. Yeah.
And there's a lot of, there's so many crossovers between people that have anxiety and ADHD, there's these crossovers. I think for me personally, what it comes down to, and what has always been my number one helper when it comes to getting stuff done is to sit down and ask myself, what's blocking me, and just to get honest, what is blocking me. And sometimes I know it sounds silly, but sometimes I'm so excited for a task and I have that one meeting at 2 p.m. and I know that it's going to interrupt the task that I'm going to do that day. And I get fixated on, I can't start the task because I have that meeting and it's blocking me. And so, personally now I have meeting days and I have work days. So I don't have, and then I can do what Travis is doing where I jump from one project to another, but I'm able to get it done. But sometimes it's not the task itself. It's the setting. It's how your desk is set up. It's how but it is to stop and pause and say, what's blocking me, and there's certain things that we don't like to do. And I say this so many times, is there somebody else that can help out with that? Or can you just talk it through? You're blocked because of this. You don't know where to start. Talk to somebody and have an outside perspective. They might not give you the answer, but just talking it out helps. But the thing that helps me all the time over and over when I don't know where to go or I'm stuck, I just sort of pause and say, we've been here before. So what is it? And try to solve that and then move forward.
That's a great note to finish this up on. Thank you, Gab. Appreciate it. Thank you both. So therefore, I want to take just a second now and thank UltraCamp for sponsoring the CampHacker podcast. Exclusive just to CampHacker listeners, you could discover the 10 best marketing tools and tips for camps by visiting ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker. And when you're there, you can download UltraCamp's free guide, the Marketing Toolbox, not the toolbook, the toolbox. Ever feel like you spend so much time in the office that you've got no time left for camp? This fits with the topic of today. Those folks at UltraCamp know you didn't get into camping just to do paperwork or answer emails 3 times a day. So they created software to help camp professionals like yourself handle camp registration quickly and efficiently. With UltraCamp, you get pricing that is transparent and flexible, and it means you can rest easy and focus on what's important, your campers. There's a low minimum entry, there's clear pricing with no hidden cost, flexible payment terms, and no long-term contracts. UltraCamp's goal is to provide resources so their clients can spend more time in camp doing what they do best. If this doesn't sound like your registration software, don't you think it should? Visit their website, ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker, and set up a time to chat. They look forward to meeting with you. All right, let us move on then to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
I kind of lost who has started us off first. I'm going to go with Gab this time.
Awesome. So my tool of the week is the mic that I'm using right now. It's a Thorn Max MD drill, and it is very, very cool and fun because 1, not too expensive. 2, it looks good, which is important to me. Am I shallow? Yes. That's period right there.
You're
shallow.
A designer, Gab. You have designer blood. That's
and I love it, and it's beautiful. And it's really well built. You also have an LED light at the bottom at the base that you can adjust. So if you're into that kind of thing, which I am, sometimes I like a little sparkle. So there we go. And it comes with the whole kit, like the pop filter, if that's what you'd like to use. Also has a great stand. I just find it very, very easy to use, where you have the gain and the sound, and you can plug your headphones right into it. So then you can also hear how you sound, which sometimes there's some mics that don't have that. So it's a fun little mic, and I'm enjoying using it. I hope it's nice for everybody listening. I hope it's a nice mic for your ears.
I think it is definitely a nice mic for one's ears.
Nice.
And I appreciate that. I want to encourage camp families, camp leaders, to think about their camp families, that not everybody can hear well. One of my great frustrations over the last 2 years in a lot of Zoom calls is those people who are joining on Zoom via Apple, wired things from a coffee shop. And I can't understand them. I can't hear them. And just that simple power of making it easy for families, make it easier for families to understand you, is a powerful example to them that you are thoughtful and caring. And it is one of those little elements that says, not a small little thing, but powerful, that we can trust you because you think of these things. So great pick.
Exactly.
My tool of the week, I'm actually giving two. So for our discussion, there's a book called Bird by Bird. I would recommend. It'll be in the show notes. It's Anne Lamott.
Tell us why. It was a good story.
I read this book probably in the 90s. It was published in 95. And what I take from it, it's a book on writing and life, instructions on writing and life. And there's a story in it where her brother is writing. It has to do this project he's 10 years old and he has to do this project for birds, and he's put it off and put it off and put it off. And he gets really frustrated. It's due the next day. And he's like to his dad, he's like, we'll never get this done. And his dad's like, we will, just bird by bird, right? Like we're going to do it bird by bird. So it helps when it reminds, and it's a phrase that comes to my own mind. I think that it's one of those phrases in my own self-talk that are like, there's all that just plays out in my head, or I say it out loud. So, yeah, I'm not sure anybody else speaks to themselves as much as I do, right? Like you wake up in the morning, you're like, you got this. This is good. You got this. Okay, great.
Perfect. Yes.
I can do this.
Yep.
Yeah. My second tool is totally computer driven, but it's this idea that we have, if you're like me, you have multiple cloud accounts. So it's a product called Mult Cloud. Put multiple clouds into one. So I'm looking at my Mult Cloud, and essentially what it's doing is I have a Dropbox, I have a Google Drive, I have OneDrives, and I have numerous Google Drives because I have numerous Gmail accounts, and I have numerous OneDrives because I have numerous Microsoft accounts. I can transfer things from one to the other without ever downloading them to my computer.
Yeah.
I, in fact, am trying to get in the habit of lessening this. So I'm like, well, I've used Dropbox for probably 15 years or whenever it started, but I am now moved all my Dropbox stuff to a OneDrive because I have a terabyte of storage in a OneDrive through a business account versus 10 gigabytes of storage in a Dropbox, right? And so it's this idea that you can move traffic. Now, the free version is only 30 gigabytes a month, but 30 gigabytes a month seems like a lot to me. Like I don't. And but it's also, you can see everything. It's a brilliant way to sort of amalgamate your storage. And with Google, if you use Google Suite at your camp, if you're a nonprofit or if you're a for-profit or for your business, the limited amount of storage you have, so 15 gigabytes sounds like a lot, or 30 gigabytes sounds like a lot, but it's not. And then you go and you delete emails or you delete files. But with this, I can take all of Pierce Williams' files from, let's say, 2012 and back, and I can remove them from our Google Drive and just put them directly into one of the terabyte OneDrives.
Can you set up automations? So can you use that to automate moving? If stuff is in this folder in Google Drive, it automatically moves to OneDrive?
That's a great question. I think that might be a paid thing.
Good.
There are upgrades. So free is 30 gigabytes a month. For $10 a month, you can get 150 gigabytes. And it talks about file transfer and sync filters. So okay. That sounds like what you're wanting. For years, I've used a product called SyncBack to do it from my computer to back up things to different cloud accounts.
Yeah,
that is free, but this is This is very specific to try to deal, because like our life, you have all of this crap everywhere online. And you're like, so I stopped using Flickr and I downloaded my entire Flickr archive, which, if you're new to the podcast, is huge because I took a lot of photos one year and they were all up on Flickr. And so, but now it's stored in one of these online Microsoft accounts, and
right.
We'll go from there. Malt Cloud.
Excellent. Thank you. So I am here to talk about my tool of the week this week is Google Pixel Buds Series A, the new and only available Google ones that match to Google and Android phones. I think you can use them with iPhones as well. So first of all, what these are not. This is not have the charging case where you can just put it on a charging mat and it charges. You have to plug it in. They don't have active noise cancellation. And I honestly don't know, they may not plug into an iPhone. But I'm on an Android phone and I happen to be on a Google phone directly, so it works. What these are, they have a very small package, so it fits in my pocket. I could carry it in that little fifth change pocket in my jeans. If I was wearing jeans and I wanted to, they would fit there. They are comfortable. They're light. In fact, I don't think they have the best. They certainly don't have the best battery of wireless headphones that I've had. But all of that is fine because they're small, they're light, the case fits easily in a pocket. They're great because of how connected they are to Google Assistant. And our house is fully Google Assistant, and so they have that. And so I can at any point, if I leave the house late walking the dog on her final walk of the night and our garden lights turn off, I just tell my headphones, turn on the garden lights, and they're on when I come back to the house. Or the other thing that I love, and this is the key for me, is that it will read me my text and other messages. So if I'm out walking, I'm doing some work and moving around, I just tell it to read me my messages and it'll tell me what people have sent me. And that to me is the magic, as I can, hear if I need to focus on something. Or I need to change my focus. I know that because without having to take my phone out. And so Pixel Buds Series A are the new ones that are out, and I love them. Pretty good.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm gonna get mine in January.
There you go. Joe's on the way. I think it's time for us to wrap up. We miss Chris. Sorry you weren't able to join us, and I want to thank you both for joining me today. Joe, if people have follow-up questions, how can they get in touch with you?
The best way to follow up with me is just a direct email to joe@campisbetter.com.
Thanks, Joe, for being on and sharing.
Not a problem.
Gabz?
You can get in touch with me at info@waro.com, OUAREAU.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Gabrielle Rail, and Rail takes 2 L's.
Excellent. So thank you both. I appreciate that. If people have show suggestions or show feedback, they can reach me, travis@gocamp.pro. So today I want to recommend one other show from the Go Camp Pro network. I want you to check out the Day Camp Pod. The Day Camp Pod sounds like it's about a very specific thing, and it is, but it's about so much more. They have been so smart about what they are doing, thinking about the big picture of camp. They're definitely talking very practical, on the ground day camp things, but they're also thinking big picture. They've had some amazing guests on. They've had some great topics, and everybody should be listening to the Day Camp Pod, not just those of you who run or hope to run a day camp. So I'd encourage you to go check out the Day Camp Pod. And that is it for us this week. Thank you all very much. And thanks for the evening, friends.
The CampHacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. CampHacker, bringing your world into focus.
Hey Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the CampHacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more Camp Pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.